Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you back to the lockdown sessions with Wrestling Travel. Today, very, very honored to have with us Anthony Carelli. Anthony, how are you doing today?
Good, very good. Thank you, man.
Good, man. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate setting this up. We've been doing these lockdown sessions, just kind of catching up with everybody during these crazy times. I know you're up there in Toronto, Canada.
Yep.
How have things been going here the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I'm pulled every which way, from running the gym and coaching judo and coaching wrestling. I do a TV show and I make appearances, and I was overworked and burnt out. So in the beginning, it was a bit of a blessing, just to recharge my battery and I have a toddler at home. He's about a year and 9 months. So to get 4 months at home with your baby, as opposed to, working 10, 12, sometimes 16 hours a day, it was a definite blessing, And we took some equipment from the gym home, and we had a nice home setup. We did lots of bike riding and kayaking. So we took advantage of it. And next Tuesday, here we go. We're opening back up, and it's going to be interesting to see how people feel. I mean, they just to gauge their confidence levels.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be nice not to. You didn't have to make that decision to kind of stay off the road. It was made for you, and you got to spend time with the family. So, you guys have been Battle Arts has been closed down since
4 months. Yep.
4 months. Wow. And that was an amazing facility. We got a chance. You were very gracious allowing us Wrestling Travel when we were up there last summer to have a look at. What an outstanding facility. So what did you guys do any like virtual? Because I know you teach a judo class. I know you have the pro wrestling.
I was interested in doing that. No, we just closed, man. We just closed. And that's it. Now we're going to open up on Tuesday. I'm doing judo. Kids judo, adult judo, and pro wrestling. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are kind of the same day, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday is like our Muay Thai, BJJ, all that stuff. Yeah.
So is everything opening up? I know you got boxing there. We got to meet Tristan Brooks when we were up there.
Yeah, we're not going to be opening up everything. We're going to kind of have a little bit of a reduced schedule, engage, this is like a grand opening. We don't know who's coming. When you first open a business, whether it be a restaurant, okay, let's say you set up and you ordered your food and you're ready and turn on the open sign, and you got to wait for customers, right? You know what I mean? And that's how it was in the beginning. We were open and somebody walked in, and one person walked in, and this is the same thing. We're going to open and see who shows up, really. We're of course, we're advertising and putting information out there and letting people know that we're opening up again. And we do have a lot of people that contact us and say, they're chomping at the bit. They can't wait to get back. But I guess we'll see.
I want to kind of back up. A lot of people don't realize the casual wrestling fan doesn't realize your background in judo, in mixed martial arts, because you did the comedy so well on TV that a lot of people, like when we got to visit you and we had some pictures and stuff with you, and you had the is it called a gi? A gi, I almost have. Well, what's he dress up like that? I'm like, guys, he's badass. I mean, he's legitimate into the sport. How long have you been doing judo? Since you were very young, correct?
Oh, I started about 9 years old, and I went right through the whole provincial system. I was on the national team, and it's a fantastic sport to be a part of growing up as a teenager. You go to the tournaments and you see the kids from other provinces, and you make lots of good friendships. And a lot of my judo friendships, gosh, we're still friends today. Like friends that when we were teenagers and stuff. Now they're coaches, and we see each other at tournaments, and we share some good old stories.
Very cool. And then your facility, you had a hand in designing that, correct?
I designed everything.
Designed everything, because you were explaining, somebody was explaining how you guys can set that up and run your wrestling shows right in there. Very impressive facility, taking advantage of the space you have.
Yeah, it transforms really. It transforms into a venue. Um, we have bleachers in there. We have, we can comfortably hold about 400 people. We got ring lights and sound system and, really nice locker rooms and then washrooms for the fans. It just has a nice flow to it.
Yeah, very impressed with the entire facility. I'm sure you've answered this a million times, so please humor me on this. How did you make that transition between uh, judo and then getting into professional wrestling? Was professional wrestling something that you were a fan of prior to
Yeah, I mean,
joining?
I was a fan as a kid, with my brother and my dad. We go watch WrestleManias and all that stuff. But, you almost don't dare think of doing it, right? Like, how you these guys are monsters, they won't let you in. You don't belong there. I'm 5'10", And then when I was in university, and one of my friends, he's a friend of mine now, from my wrestling team. His dad was Don Koloff and had a wrestling school, very small private wrestling school, just outside of Toronto. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, man, this is my in, man. This is my. I just found my destiny. And then when I graduated and worked a little bit in the professional world, decided it was time, and I started wrestling late. I was like 28 years old. I had 6 years of university, so that's already a little. And I worked for a few years in the real world, and all of a sudden, boom, you're 28.
Yeah, it goes fast. I want to talk to you about, and we're jumping all over here because I'm not a journalist, but our company is out of Manchester, England. I want to talk about the difference between. I usually ask people, what's the difference between the crowd over in the U.S. and bring it over to the UK. But one of my favorite moments of yours, I think you're in Manchester, right where we're out of, um, working a gimmick with Sheamus and
Oh,
Vladimir
Kozlov.
Kozlov, and the crowd reaction was amazing. What is there a big difference? Do you notice when you're traveling the world wrestling, um,
Oh yeah,
from
the
an
the
American
crowds.
crowd, British crowd?
But even the American crowds, they are different based on where you are in the States. A California crowd is different from a Nashville crowd, is different from a New York, New Jersey, Philly crowd. Minnesota, Wisconsin, very different too. To the UK crowd, because if you watched, what was the show called? In the British wrestling, it was on Worldwide Sport.
World of Sport.
Yeah, and they had a lot of comedy wrestling. It was kind of in the studio, so you could hear the wrestlers say jokes, and of course, British people have wonderful comedians and senses of humor. So the British people kind of got the character first. To be honest, they got the subtleties of the comedy, and it was a perfect choice of venue to do this tea party thing because the crowd was all over it. The Toronto audience is kind of somewhere between a European and an American audience. To be honest, they're kind of a little funny. They have a different, unique personality. But yeah, man, I've had a lot of good times in England.
Yeah, that's great. There's so much of your stuff that I look back upon, or even while it's happening, that um, just had me laughing out loud as a fan and as somebody watching it. I've always wanted to ask you, did you have a lot of say in some of the skits that you did? I mean, I imagine. Um,
How the skits were executed, I had some say, but I wasn't involved in the writing or anything like that. So the writers would come and say, "This is what you're doing," and in the beginning, it would be like, "Here's your script," and then gradually it shifted to, "Here's what we'd like you to say." Say it in your own words and bring it to life the way you want to bring it to life, but this is the gist of it. And yeah, either way, I mean, the first kind of writer I had assigned to me was Brian Gewirtz, and he had a great sense of humor. He understood the character. He knew, I don't know if he envisioned the way I would say it, but he gave me some fun stuff, like the honka meter, and that's all him. But then near the end, I had a lot more input, basically, yeah, but not necessarily in what we were doing, just how we were doing it.
Yeah, we're coming up on the anniversary when we were out there. I want to remind you of a story you told us, and if we could kind of go through it again. Harley Race passed away right around a year ago, and you told us a very interesting story when we were there about um, Harley actually liking you and you being a little bit afraid of what Harley would say about comedy wrestling. Do you recall that
Yeah,
story?
yeah. He gave me a compliment and told me I was old school. I remember he's like, anyway, to be told you're old school from Harley Race was pretty awesome, actually. It doesn't get much more of a, what's the, validation stamp from than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us like what would be some of the best advice there? Is there somebody that had given you the best advice you gotten in pro wrestling? And what would that have been?
Oh man, William Regal gave me one really awesome tip one time. He said, save some of your best stuff for live events and live events only. Never do it on TV, because then you have this toolbox of spots or whatever, so especially with ha, comedy stuff, and you can do it all over the world, you know endlessly. But if you do it on TV, everyone's seen it now, and if you do it in a live event after that, they've seen it, right? So that was one thing I really listened to, and saved a lot of my good stuff for live events only.
Now, how many the students that are at Battle Arts that are the ones that are in pro wrestling? We got to watch you teach a class um, very gratefully. It was really awesome to see. About how many students have you gone through that academy?
Oh man, I'm sure we've had 100 students. Some people, like, we've been there 7 years, right? Some people have been there 7 years. Some people have been there 7 weeks, and it just depends. There's a lot of people that want to become professional wrestlers till they really kind of find out what it takes to be a professional wrestler, and then they're like, this is the analogy I use. Let's say you go to the mall and you see some shoes. You go, oh my god, I love these shoes. I want these shoes, and can I try them on? You try them on, beautiful. I want to. How much are they? They go, they're about $450, and you're like, that's a little more than I'm willing to spend. And it's the same for pro wrestling. There's guys who go, I want to be a pro wrestler, and they're envisioning standing on the rope with their hand in the air, and wearing the belt and making money. But then someone tells them the price, and they're like, ooh, didn't really want to train 5-6 days a week, twice a day, and didn't really want to leave my family. Didn't really want to, whatever else is involved. But sometimes it looks good until you find out the price.
Yeah, absolutely. When I trained in 1997 in one of the it was Eddie Sharkey's camp in
Oh,
Minneapolis.
yeah.
But Brad Kohler, an MMA guy, was in the ring with us, and he said, "Hey, listen, I've had Olympic caliber athletes that cannot do this, cannot pick it up." So it's always funny to me when people may kind of look down their nose, the average person at pro wrestling, and use the F word, but a lot of hard work really goes into it. Now,
Yeah, because there's so many different facets, right? You may be a great athlete, but you may suck at being a business person. And when it comes to pro wrestling, you have to become a business person, and you are your business. You may suck at public speaking. You may be, for example, let's say you're an awesome amateur wrestler, because you're not good on being on a team. But when it comes to pro wrestling, you're in a locker room and you have to work with other guys, and so maybe you're not good at working well with other people. And if you're someone that's able just to smash people, you don't need to work well with other people. You just need to smash. So being a high level athlete is just like one piece of the pie.
and that obviously we only got to see one day of training, but I'm assuming that's kind of the stuff that you're covering with your students, like the locker room etiquette and the
Yeah, my
getting there early, putting in the hard work. Um, Now I was going to ask you, your daughter is doing very well, or was doing very well last year. Was getting out and doing a lot of stuff. I know we talked to a lot of your students at the time, and compliments to her was a lot of them said, please go talk to her. She's one of the best that we have. How has she been with it? Was she still sticking with wrestling, and now
Yeah,
she's on
yeah,
this
yeah.
4-month
She's
hiatus, right?
no, she's been training. Um, when the gym was closed, obviously she had a key, so she was in there. She's been in there training quite a bit. She's in best shape I've seen her in, and next time the WWE has a look at her, they're going to be quite pleased with how serious she's taking it. And just when the opportunity comes, there's a lot of women in line right now, in WWE. But when there's an opportunity, she'll capitalize on it. She's good. She's born for it.
Fantastic. Yeah, we can't wait to see her out there. Last couple questions here, because I want to be very respectful of your time. Here in Wisconsin, we have been able to run shows using social distancing and everything. Canada is not there yet, or do you know if they have run anybody has run any shows?
I think you're allowed to have a gathering of like 50 people right now, and we'll see. Maybe we'll see what happens in the next couple months. Basically, it's a wait and see game still, because we don't know if there's going to be. We just got to stage 3 right now, where gyms can open. So if there's a sharp spike in numbers, who knows? I know a buddy of mine in Melbourne, Australia, opened his gym and had to close it again in 3 weeks because of a spike. And then, so now, I mean, we're in August, right? September, October is around the corner. That's 8 weeks. It's nothing. 8 weekends. And all of a sudden, it's going to get cold. And here comes flu season. And then who knows again, right? So it's a wait and see game.
Yeah, what a mess. So wrestling travel. I have to segue into my travel question. I'm obligated. So we bring fans. We used to until this happened, but fans from all over the world to different wrestling events. The last one we were able to do was in Japan, Wrestle Kingdom. During this time that pro wrestling has been great to you, you've been able to travel the world. Do you have any cities or places that stick out that you're like, man, this is really some cool places I got to see that the world of pro wrestling has taken me?
Yeah, I mean, Qatar in Doha, Qatar is awesome. I wouldn't have been there. South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg, pretty cool. Auckland, New Zealand. I haven't been back. I thought I was there once or twice, but I remember saying I could live here. This place is wicked. And then the privilege of traveling to so many little places across the U.S. Boise, Idaho. I mean, I never would have went there. Nebraska and everywhere in the U.S. I haven't put it this way. I haven't been to Wyoming, and I think Montana. That's it. Everywhere else we've been. Yeah, Puerto Rico is gorgeous. All over Mexico and bullfighting arenas, and of course all across Europe, and yeah, like Luxembourg and Austria and Romania. Like it's been awesome. That's the best part. Russia, China. I mean, the list just keeps going on. The more I can remember, there's a few major countries I haven't done, like Brazil and India, but yeah, it's been awesome. The travel part.
I'm with you on Auckland. I don't know if I was there in January, not this past January, but used to travel there regularly in January. The food, the fresh food and stuff that they have, I was just so impressed with Australia and New Zealand. Of
Yeah, it's
course.
funny because Australia is like so Canadian. It's just like the parallel dimension.
So my final question for you, because I want to be respectful of your time, is the most important. As our fans and fans of you, how can they keep up with you? What are your social medias, merchandise, anything
Yeah,
going on
man,
that
pretty
they can support
straightforward.
you?
My Twitter is Milan Miracle, and my Instagram is the Milan Miracle, and I kind of update a nice balance of my personal life, and then of course battle arts, and I try and stay away from politics and religion and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I try and keep it light on there.
All right. Well, hey, we want to thank you for spending some time with us. I know I said I'd try to get this at 15, 20 minutes, and that's where we're at. But we can't thank you enough for joining us here at Wrestling Travel. And we wish you the best on Tuesday, opening back up, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for you.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you very much. All the best to you guys, too.